So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to these two lovely ladies that are going to take you through the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Winning with Animation. I'm Marion Payton.
And I'm Kira Gilsonin. We're both proposal designers with Strategic Proposals. Between us, we've been working in animation for over 25 years for live events, marketing collateral, and most importantly, proposal submissions.
Working in animation using professional software is great, but for us, we've learned that when you need to make a quick change at the last minute, this is far from ideal. And the expense to own the software is prohibitive to many. So we've made it our mission to replicate some of the popular features in software that most people will already own. And we've compiled a few clips, and these all use PowerPoint into a showreel. We've also created using PowerPoint to give a flavour of what's possible. We'll begin by introducing what the word animation means to Kira and I for a quick insight into our working day. And we'll share reasons why we think animation is an essential tool for you, for connecting with your audience, clients, and customers. And we'll finish with a step-by-step demonstration of how you can use the tools available within PowerPoint alone to bring your story to life. So the word animation,
it's really painful.
The word animation literally means a bestowing of life, which we love. But what that form takes differs by industry. In media and entertainment, most people's first thought is of Pixar film or Japanese anime. But with a bid and proposals hat on, your first thought might be of crude, flashy, cringy PowerPoint animation builds. And if you fall into the latter camp, we're here to show you that PowerPoint animations don't always need to be cringy. And used in the right place, they can even be cool. So there are three main features in PowerPoint which allow us to create polished presentations, and we use them daily. We've prepared a couple of short videos to bring these to life. So number one is slide transitions. When you click transitions in the menu at the top, you'll see the options appear. By clicking on these, you can preview each transition on your slide. So after testing out some of the other transitions, there are 49 in all, we often head straight back to the Morph tool, which takes the common assets on your previous slide to your current slide and then moves them into the new position. And this transition is a complete game changer for us. One of the main reasons we were able to create the animations we showed you at the start in PowerPoint. So number two is animation effects. So you click animation in the top menu, followed by animation pane. And you'll see this appear on the right of the window. When you select a shape on your slide, as we're doing here with all of the strategic letters, the animation options become active. So we click on the arrow to access all 27, and we select basic zoom. And as you can see, as you add more animations to the shapes, as we're doing here, you'll see these building up in your animation pane. And you'll be able to set the timings from this location as well, but more on that later. And then there's importing video into your slides, which is number three. This video was filmed, cut, and animated in Adobe software before being imported into PowerPoint. And that enables it to sit seamlessly alongside editable presentation slides. So our client used the 1 minute 30-second piece to introduce the bespoke slides that their sales and marketing team would be presenting that would be changed by global location. And we'll demonstrate how to import video in our how-to section.
So we know what animation is, but why should we be using it? Well, here are 5 good reasons why we think you should be using animation in your proposal pitches. Number 1, the human brain is primed through evolution to be highly sensitive to movement. Given that the average attention span is just 8 seconds, less than a goldfish, animation gives us a way of attracting and maintaining attention. Reason number 2, video gets more engagement. This has become more apparent on websites and social media everywhere. A 2022 video marketing survey by Wise Owl revealed that 59% of execs would pick video over text if given the option. And the third reason, video and animation improves understanding. Research shows that over 90% of business people say that using video increases their customers' understanding of a product or service. People read around 3 to 5 times faster than they talk. As a result, if you put up a static slide with lots of words, not only is it really dull on the eye, the audience will have read it before you've completed your first sentence. There's a real danger that they'll then just switch off. We have a lazy dog and the fox likes to leap over him while he sleeps. People can't read and listen at the same time, so the audience will not be able to properly focus on what you say and what's going on versus what's going on the screen. The solution is a visual slide with very few, if any, words, or even better, an animated slide. And the 5th reason we think you should be using animation in your pitches, it helps with pacing. Animation enables us to set the pace of our story. Remember, great storytelling is about building interest and curiosity, not giving it all away at the beginning. So we've established what animation is and why you should use it, but how to go about it. Here's a video that we've created entirely in PowerPoint, featuring the lovely Lorraine Baird, one of the directors here at SP, and afterwards Marion will take you through how we made it. Hopefully it works for me now. Yes.
Proposals and pitches are in our DNA. Our mission for over 30 years has been to help you win and retain business by helping you create outstanding proposals, compelling pitches, and persuasive sales collateral. Want to find out more? Go to our website at strategicproposals.com.
You're on mute, Marion.
I was like, something wrong with my computer, I can't hear Marion.
Sorry. This video formed part of our What to Do series and was designed to be promoted on LinkedIn, so you may have seen it already. But before I get into my demonstration, if the interface of PowerPoint here looks a little bit different to what you're used to, don't worry. Kira and I have Apple Mac computers, and the PowerPoint app is a little bit different in just its appearance in the ribbon bar, but they both have the same tools. Also, the screen is set to dark mode, which is easier on the eye, but not the default for PowerPoint. So we don't have a lot of time. So a reminder that we are recording this session. So if you feel we're racing through a certain part, you'll have the opportunity to watch again and pause to focus on what we're doing. So to create the logo sting, which opens our video, we start with the background pattern. Using insert and then insert from file, we locate our little lines that we call strikes. Here we go, just insert. We select the new graphic and then click on animation from the ribbon and apply a basic zoom effect to the strikes as shown. And next, using insert picture again, we locate the SP logo icon. And because we're using a vector logo saved as an SVG file type, we're able to convert it to shape and then break it apart with ungroup objects. And this gives us control over each element as an individual item. So we can then click on animation again to apply a grow and turn animation effect to each of these shapes. We're just making sure that this effect is applied to the remaining parts of the logo here. And then we just one more click. Okay, and then we open the animation pane from your ribbon toolbar to see the effects you've applied. For the timing, we've set all of these to a duration of 1 second and starting together, which is called with previous, quite obviously. So we've now created our logo sting. So for the second part of our animated short, we insert a video from file.
Oh, it's not playing. There we go. Sorry, Marion.
That's all right.
I'm better on the road.
So we'll insert a video from file. Here we are. Lorraine has been filmed in front of a green screen, but really any background will work, even a plain wall in your office. And then we're going to remove the background on your video. So we're drawing a freeform shape around your subject. There we go, around the head. Just clicking around the hair. And for our purposes today, we're drawing quite fast, but go at your own pace to create a more accurate shape. As in this, there's our shape, as in this example, yeah, there we go, that we did earlier. Then first select the video and next your new shape and choose intersect to create a mask on your video like this. So click on the video and choose playback from the ribbon menu. We're going to set this to play automatically, and we're going to toggle off the play full screen because we want this to be in a window. If you want to trim the video, you can within PowerPoint. So click on the button, change the in and out points, and then choose trim. You won't lose the rest of your clip and can amend timings later. If you prefer to crop your video, or if your subject is moving around too much within your mask, you can do this under video format. So we've chosen a circle here and set a ratio of 1:1. But of course, this discards our earlier mask, so I've undone on this occasion. Back to our outline version. So if you wish to recolor your video, then you can do this in the format video pane. We like the black and white feature. It can make videos look more refined, and you can adjust the contrast and brightness settings as desired in the control panel on the right. So next we go to animation and we set it to fade up. And we insert this at the beginning of our animation order. There we go. Okay, and we're going to set the fade up to appear at the same time as the video plays for a seamless build. So in a moment, we're going to start to build the story. So I'm scrubbing along to show that I'm noting down the key timings so that we can bring our animated icons and assets up in time with the audio. So we've got 3 seconds and 6 seconds and 10 seconds. And next we move on to the animation happening around Lorraine. So let's shrink our mask video for now to keep it out of the way. And as we've pre-inserted lots of icons to help us tell our story, otherwise you'd be waiting around forever, and we'll build these up in time with our recorded video. So at the moment, this looks very messy, but the mess is necessary. Here's a top tip for handling layered assets that you need to animate. Selection pane. Select a shape and go to Shape Format tab on the ribbon to open the selection pane, as we've done here. You will see all of your assets and shapes stacked up as layers. At the top, you can choose hide all, as we have done, to clear the decks. And then as you go through, you can show and hide the ones that you actually want to focus on. It's just wonderful. Once you start playing with this, you can really build up a single slide of animation really effectively. So we're applying animation. Once we've got all of them showing, we're going to apply animation effects from the menu bar to each of our icons. And we're going to apply zoom up followed by a pulse effect to each of our 3 icons on the left, so that they appear and then they do a slight movement as Lorraine goes through them. Referring to the timings that we noted down earlier, we set these to appear and then disappear in sync with the audio, and we repeat for all 3. And now we will apply the same process to the remaining shapes, our leading the way strapline and the hills and the path. Each needs a build on and a build off. We're not going to do the middle effect for these ones. Okay, so we're now going to hide the relevant layers and we're going to move on to the next set. You'll repeat this with every stage of your shape builds until you've applied an animation to everything. So here we have our client conversation icon, which we will grow turn effect to switch on the other heads. Okay, do it. And the SP winning cup, which will eventually sit between their heads to show a winning team.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually more fun than it looks on screen, because in reality you're putting all your planning and storyboard into action, so it's quite rewarding. So we're taking our animation for a test drive and comparing it to the floating audio. Your timings will need adjusting at this point. You'll need to tweak and test until you're happy with it, and it can take a long time. A long time. Or until your head implodes, as often happens with us. Okay, so finally we create our last logo sting to close out our animation. As we use the same assets in the opening sting, we'll just copy it from slide 1. And we will paste it into our current slide. And the animation effect will be carried along with it. On slide 2, we want to isolate the SP logo and the web address. So I'm not deleting, that would be horrendous. I'm hiding all of the different layers and switching them on to make sure that we've just got the ones that we want to copy across onto the next slide. Sometimes it's tricky to know where you are in the list of assets, but we wouldn't trade this selection pane for the world, as I mentioned earlier. Makes life so much easier.
I mean, so name them.
So we select everything left on screen and we choose copy. Return to our closing slide and we paste. The previous animation settings will again be carried across, but we don't want these now. So we're going to go to the animation pane and we're going to select them all. Do it. So we'll select all the animations and then we're going to delete them all because we, as I said, we don't need those. And then we want to center our objects. We have snap to guide switched on and that helps us line up our shapes exactly. Nice and handy. So to end on a clean frame, we move this red cord downwards and out of view because we don't want it on our last frame, and now we have our 3 slides of animation completed. For the final touch, we'll apply a morph transition on each slide, and we'll watch PowerPoint do the magic for us. So elements, as I mentioned before, that are repeated across slides will move to their new place, such as the final SP logo, and the red cord moves off screen. And once you're completely happy, you can save your animation as, let's go to see an example. Yeah, that looks nice. Okay, so we'll save our animation as a what do I mean? I mean a PowerPoint show, so that you can automatically send to clients, and when they click on it, it will open and play automatically without showing them the back end of your PowerPoint file. Or we can export as an MP4 video file, and that's then suitable for re-importing into your next PowerPoint presentation. So let's watch our final exported video one more time.
Proposals and pitches are in our DNA. Our mission for over 30 years has been to help you win and retain business by helping you create outstanding proposals, compelling pitches, and persuasive sales collateral. Want to find out more? Go to our website at strategicproposals.com.
Thank you, Marion. So as we demonstrated, designing with PowerPoint animation can be quite tedious and time consuming. If you're lucky enough to have availability of a design team, you can leave it to them. Or if the budget is there, you might choose to outsource, excuse me, an important job, excuse me again, an important job to more experienced animators, not looking at anyone in particular, of course. Either way, it's important to know how to tell them what you want produced. You don't have to have a crystal clear design vision. A good designer will be able to take your story and bring it to the concept to life. But there are points to bear in mind when you are handing over a job. Make sure you're using the right terminology. A colleague once asked me to adjust the transitions in his PowerPoint presentation. He wanted it sped up. But after several increasingly frustrated emails between us, I realized he wanted the animation timings adjusted, not the slide transitions. He was using the wrong term. The old adage, a picture tells 1,000 words, is never more true. When you're asking for someone to create something for you, a reference image or a video clip of something similar that you like will be much more effective than a meandering paragraph. One of the first things a designer on a new project will ask you to send. Any guesses? Your logo, well as branding style guide and any other brand assets that might be needed. Save yourself some time and hassle by having these to hand in a folder. Having a great client-designer relationship means having good communication and understanding of one another's needs. This is the most effective way to ensure you get the best out of your project. Valentine's cards are not necessary, but chocolates are always welcome.
A definite yes to chocolates, please. And now for the serious bit, deadlines. You know when you need to finish the article by, and then set the deadline a day or two before. For big projects, work backwards from this date to create a stage-gated project timeline. And this will help you understand if your vision is achievable for deadline. And don't forget to factor in the render time, which can from PowerPoint be quite big. So managing budget. Bear in mind when budget planning that creating complex editable animations for video and PowerPoint takes time, as I mentioned before, and it's not always a cheaper alternative to using professional animation software. So allocate the budget to reflect this. And last but not least, deliverables. Very often you can keep costs down by knowing what you want before you begin. So are you looking for high-end special effects, text builds or shape animation, or a combination of them all? And will you need to make last-minute edits? All of that information makes a big difference to how and what software we will create them in. So ensuring expectations are met and within budget.
So in summary, do use it when it adds attention, understanding, or recall. Train people in how to present effectively. And don't use irritating and gimmicky PowerPoint animations. Whoop. Keep it simple. So that's it for today. If you have any questions, do stick your hand up in the chat or pop them in the chat, or stick your hand up. We'll be happy to try and answer everything you can. Please do take it easy on us. It's our first webinar, if that wasn't already obvious.
You guys did really well. Actually, Shona did ask a question about how long it would take to complete something like the sting that you were kind of talking us through, and pretty much you did all the steps in real time. So I was going to answer, 5 minutes, but then I put in the chat that it would take me about a year. I mean, my mind is literally blown. There's no way that I could sit there all day and I wouldn't get it. But
one of the things that does take the time is the thinking process. We have to work out what works best and retry. And so when you're running through a demo, it's easy to think it's just a case of robotic steps. But there's a lot of consideration that goes on in between those steps. And there is a rule of thumb for animation that we apply. And it is that we aim to kind of produce about half a minute of animation per day for a low complexity, and that can shrink down all the way to 10 seconds per day for the really high end animation that you saw in the video that we had at the beginning with the lines on that lady's face. So as a gauge, that's really how to calculate it. And PowerPoint just isn't necessarily quicker than using that software. It's just got the added benefit of being editable, and therefore it's a good tool for when you want to insert something kind of quickly at the last minute for your sales presentation, because you can quickly export as an MPEG, pop it back in again, or run it through as a show.
Ideally, we would want these kind of videos done in the higher spec software, which is a bit quicker and easier sometimes. But generally, editability is the key, and people want to be able to dip in and make changes and see, they want to see how it's come together.
Yeah, and somebody has asked, I will come to the question about org charts, but somebody has asked if you could realistically render from a standard laptop and how long the sort of 3-slide animation would take on a standard laptop. But I think you've pretty much covered that. Have you got anything extra to? Obviously, you showed it in PowerPoint with the expectation being that most of us would have PowerPoint.
Yeah, the render of it is different to the making of it. The render can take anywhere up to an hour to export from PowerPoint when we've got a big piece. But so one of my pieces has been 6 minutes, believe it or not, because it was a really educational piece with a captive audience, which is really nice to have, and it was going to be talked through as well. That took an hour to export, but the little ones, like that one that we showed you, would really not take long, maybe 10 minutes to export from PowerPoint. And I know that we have pretty high-end machines here, but we also test out on other machines. I mean, I've got 3 around me at the moment, so we just, we've got a variation and a sort of a rule of thumb for it.
Yeah.
Thank you. And there was another question about animating org charts, for example, the connectors and the shapes in them. Is that something that can be achieved in PowerPoint?
Most successful animations are actually kind of workarounds. So very often the shapes that I wouldn't say I use most of the shapes that are in the animation or the shape tool. So if you want a line to animate, we'll say down and across, you would actually make that from 3 lines so that you can tell PowerPoint animate down, animate across on each of the lines. So there's a lot of cheating in it, because, or else you can do a mask and have the mask animate off. So yes, you can, but it's depending on what kind of how snazzy you want it to look. Excuse me, I have an absolute frog in my throat.
And if you have that org chart that's got like a typical frame, wireframe, or like a organizational org chart with your people faces, then you'll be able to do that with the bendy arrows that you've got in PowerPoint, where they do turn corners. So you then just wipe them on. In that instance, you sort of, if it goes diagonally, you put one of those effects that brings, it's like a blinds effect, and then it gives the impression that it's being built onwards. Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. Here's another question now. For example, if we move a shape, the connector doesn't move along. Okay, so this is, sorry, same person as asked about the org charts.
Mm-hmm.
So if they move a shape, the connector doesn't move with the shape.
Yeah, you
right?
have. Yeah.
Hemant, I think your name is. I think you can unmute yourself. Let me see if I can do it. If you want to, hang on. Just see if I can unmute you. In case it would be more helpful to be able to speak. Because I'm probably not describing or articulating your question very well. Let me try and switch you on. Right, you can unmute yourself, I think. No?
Hey, hi Maria and Ciara, and hey, hi Kat.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for the wonderful session.
Thank you.
Actually, recently I faced an issue. So I was to animate a org chart where I need to move the shapes. And when I was moving the shapes in animation, the connectors, they were not moving along the shape. So
yeah. And how are you applying an animation effect to that shape, or are you using a transition between the slides?
No. I'm applying animation effect. So there is like line animation, movement animation.
Yeah,
so I was just using that line animation, but connectors were disconnecting when I applied the animation.
Yes, we do find that too. I think that as Kira mentioned very wisely in the last response, you do have to make some compromises to what PowerPoint will do. And it definitely doesn't understand the connectors. You have to then work out how to move the connector as a separate element. So if you were to ungroup them, you and use a morph transition, which you probably wouldn't want to do for every single person in your org chart.
Yep.
You would be able to see that line change across the two slides as the box would move down, but that's where experimentation needs to happen. And if you want to send over what you're trying to work on, we can see if we can find a kind of solution that works.
Pre-consultancy. Someone turn her mic off.
I think it's on the other half of that is it is like we love PowerPoint obviously because we've had to get used. We really you hate it at first and then you grow to love it and then you're very precious about it when other people are like, oh, it's so terrible. But a lot of it is quite clunky. There's no getting away from that, and a lot of the time you're having to re-engineer what you want it to do versus what it can do, and very often it's using a different effect in a different way than maybe PowerPoint intended it to work. So it can be quite tedious, but it's also very satisfying when you nail it. Then you're like, ha, see. So I'm afraid it's just having a play around probably with some other
So I'm still working on the org chart, and so I will be using custom animation, custom timings in order to set that in flow.
Yes, bit of trial and error.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. So can you just click onto the next slide, Kira? If anyone suddenly decides that they watch back these slides or this webinar and they have specific questions, you can contact Kira and Marion directly. These are their contact details, or you can come through to us at Strategic Proposals at info@, or any of us directly if you know any of our direct emails. So just double checking that there was nothing else coming in on the chat because it went So sorry, someone did ask if the slides are available. So the whole webinar will be available. I am going to put it onto our website probably tomorrow when I've had a chance to go through it. So it'll probably be tomorrow, but they will all be available there for you to have a look at. So thank you very much, ladies, for a wonderful webinar. Really useful. It's kind of blown my mind a little bit, and I think I'm guilty of all of the things that you say that people from the 80s, did you say, are still doing curtains and things. I'm like massively insulted. So really wonderful webinar, really useful. So thank you very much.
Yeah, we really enjoyed giving a sneak peek behind the scenes. It's nice to show how you go about things. Hopefully people will be interested in learning more, and at the very least probably impressed with how much time it takes to do an animation.
Yeah. So I'm going to end the recording there, everybody. And if you need anything, then obviously we'll keep the chat open for a couple of minutes as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.